I'm 23 years old, female, and I just moved out here a couple months ago for school. Honestly, moving away from home was supposed to be a fresh start. Back in my hometown, everyone knew me. Teachers, neighbors, people at the gas station. Out here, I'm just another face in the crowd, which is both freeing and terrifying. My apartment isn't much, one bedroom, outdated carpet, squeaky pipes, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. That Saturday, around 3 in the afternoon, I decided to head to the nearest Walmart to grab some cleaning supplies. I'd been putting it off all week because classes were piling up and I was too tired to deal with scrubbing sinks and sweeping floors. But that day, something in me snapped. I wanted to reset, make the apartment feel more like home. I didn't plan on anything unusual happening. I pulled into the crowded parking lot, weaving around a couple of carts left abandoned near the entrance. Of course, I muttered to myself, trying to squeeze into a spot without clipping a runaway cart. I finally parked, grabbed my purse, and stepped out. Walking toward the sliding glass doors, I noticed him. An older man leaning against the cart corral near the entrance, probably in his late 50s or early 60s, maybe older. He wore a faded baseball cap and a flannel shirt tucked into jeans. His skin was leathery, like someone who'd spent too much time outside in the sun. We made brief eye contact. Out of habit, I gave a polite nod, the kind you give strangers just to acknowledge their existence. He didn't smile back, didn't nod, just kept staring. I brushed it off. The whoosh of the automatic doors and the blast of AC hit me as I walked inside. I grabbed a cart and headed toward the school supply aisle. I was looking for a binder, maybe some folders. Nothing major. As I flipped through the shelves of brightly colored notebooks, I heard the faint squeak of sneakers behind me. I turned my head slightly. There he was. The same man from outside. He stood at the end of the aisle, holding a pack of paper plates decorated with cartoon pumpkins. His eyes weren't on the plates, though. They were on me. I told myself not to be paranoid. Maybe he had grandkids. Maybe he was just shopping too. Still, my stomach tightened. I turned back to the binders, shoved one in my cart, and headed toward the back of the store where the electronics were. I needed a charger. The electronics section was quieter than the rest of the store. A lot of items were locked behind glass. Phone chargers, headphones, game controllers. I crouched down, scanning the shelves, trying to find the charger I needed. That's when I caught it. In the reflection of the glass, I saw him. The man. He was walking past me. Slow, his eyes locked on my body. His gaze dragged from my shoulders down to my legs. When he passed behind me, I saw him in the corner of my vision. His jaw slack, tongue darting out to wet his lips. I froze. My throat tightened, and I had to remind myself to breathe. Don't make a scene, just ignore it. He'll move on. But he didn't. He stood right behind me. Close. Too close. Excuse me, I muttered, pretending to study the shelf. My voice cracked just a little, but I forced myself to keep it casual. He didn't respond. Instead, he stood there, eyes burning into me. I could feel it without even turning around. Finally, he stepped away, heading toward another display. My whole body unclenched with relief. But I couldn't shake it. I pushed my cart into the next aisle over, trying to act normal, though my hands trembled against the handle. I decided to test it, to see if I was imagining things. I lingered near some random headphones, pretending to compare prices, while I kept an eye on the main walkway. And then I saw him. He was speed-walking down the aisle, head swiveling, scanning left and right like he was searching for something or someone. The moment he spotted me, he froze. Our eyes met. His expression shifted. Not embarrassment, not surprise, but something darker. He quickly turned and scurried off. My heart dropped. That wasn't coincidence. He was looking for me. I walked straight over to the counter where 2 employees stood. One was a tall guy with glasses, maybe in his 20s. The other was shorter, stocky, with a buzz cut. "Hey," I said, my voice low. "I think I'm being followed." Both of them looked at me immediately. "What do you mean?" Buzzcut asked. "There's this older guy, flannel shirt, cap. He's been showing up everywhere I go. Electronics, school supplies, even back near the decorations. I saw him looking for me, like searching the aisles. I don't feel safe." Glasses frowned. "We don't have actual security here, just asset protection, but we can stay with you if you want, or check you out here so you don't have to walk up front." The kindness nearly made me cry. "Yes, please. I just need some cleaning supplies and then I'll go." "All right," Buzzcut said firmly. "We'll walk with you." As we turned the corner together pushing my cart, my stomach dropped again. He was there. The man stood at the far end of the main walkway, near the registers. Not close enough to hear us, but close enough to see everything. His eyes locked on me instantly. He didn't move, didn't even blink. Just stood there, staring. The employees noticed too. Glasses muttered, "That him?" "Yes," I whispered. Buzzcut squared his shoulders. "Just keep walking. He won't try anything with us here." We moved quickly through the aisles, grabbing the supplies I needed, a mop, some sponges, a bottle of bleach. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the bottle. When we circled back toward the electronics counter to check out, I risked one last glance. He was gone. We finished the transaction at the counter. Buzzcut carried the bag for me. "You want us to walk you to your car?" Glasses asked. "Yes. Please." We went together toward the exit. I kept scanning everywhere, my pulse hammering in my ears. But I didn't see him. Still, paranoia gnawed at me. Once outside, I thanked them both profusely and headed to my car. I climbed in, locked the doors immediately, and just sat there for a minute, trying to calm down. I didn't drive straight home. I couldn't. What if he was waiting? What if he followed me out? So I drove to a random neighborhood halfway between Walmart and my apartment, pulled over in front of a house and parked, pretending I lived there. I sat there for 10 minutes, watching the mirrors, scanning the street. No cars slowed down, no one followed. Finally I pulled out, circled the block twice just to be sure, and then headed home. That night, I sat in my apartment with every light on, my pepper spray clutched in my hand. Every creak in the building made me jump. What scared me the most wasn't what happened in the store. It was what could have happened if I hadn't noticed him in that reflection. If I hadn't caught him speed walking the aisles, searching for me. He had no idea I'd seen the expression on his face, the way he licked his lips while staring at me like I was something to consume. I don't know if he would have tried to grab me in the parking lot. I don't know if he planned to follow me home. But I know one thing. His intentions weren't good. And now every time I step foot in that store, I scan every aisle, every corner, wondering if he's there again. Waiting. I never used to be the type of person who worried too much about strangers. Sure, I told my kids the usual stuff. Don't talk to people you don't know. Stay where I can see you. Never follow anyone out of the store. But deep down, I always thought the chances of something really happening were slim. That's the lie you tell yourself when you live in a small town where the biggest crime is usually a busted mailbox or a teenager shoplifting. But that night, everything I believed about safe places broke. My name's Elena. I'm 33, divorced, and raising 2 daughters mostly on my own. Their dad is in the picture, technically, but not in a way that matters when it comes to day-to-day life. He drops by sometimes, makes promises he rarely keeps, and then disappears again. I learned not to count on him years ago. It's just me, my girls, and the rhythm of our days. I work as a receptionist at a family clinic about 20 minutes away, and after work, it's the usual chaos. Homework, dinner, baths, and making sure no one's forgotten a permission slip or a library book. That Thursday, I was bone-tired. The kind of tired that sinks into your bones and makes even the thought of cooking dinner feel like too much. The girls were whining about snacks, and on top of that, Aubrey, my 12-year-old, had been bugging me for new pajamas for weeks. I promised her I'd get it done before the weekend. So instead of collapsing on the couch, I loaded them into the car and headed for the Walmart a few miles away. The parking lot was half lit, buzzing with those tall yellow lamps. It was cool out, a little windy, wrappers skittering across the asphalt. Inside, it smelled like floor cleaner and popcorn from the front snack stand. Tessa, my 8-year-old, grabbed the cart and hopped onto the bottom rack, her sneakers squealing as she pushed herself along. "Can we get Halloween candy?" she asked immediately. "We're here for school supplies and pajamas," I said. "Candy comes later." "Later, like tonight?" "Later, like maybe in October." She groaned dramatically. Aubrey walked behind us, hood up, earbuds dangling around her neck. "You know she's going to ask 100 more times, right?" I smirked. "That's why I have you here. Big sister duty." She rolled her eyes, but there was a smile tugging at her lips. We headed toward the school supply section first. The aisles were stacked high with notebooks, folders, crayons, and bins of $1 pens. Tessa darted between displays, grabbing things and holding them up. "Look, Mom!" A sparkly pencil case. "Put it back," I said, steering the cart. "You already have 2. I was just pulling a pack of folders off the shelf when it happened. A man came around the corner fast, so fast I jerked back the cart to keep from colliding. He wasn't pushing a cart. He didn't even have a basket. Just walking quick like he had somewhere to be. Except the second he almost hit us, he froze. "Excuse me," I muttered automatically. He didn't respond. He just dipped his head, mumbled something I couldn't catch, and then slid sideways into the seasonal aisle we were next to. Tessa tugged my sleeve. "Mom, look." Candy pumpkins. The seasonal aisle was covered in orange and black. Plastic pumpkins, bags of candy, fake cobwebs. And there he was. The man. He wasn't browsing like a normal person. He was just standing there, one hand digging through the bags while his eyes flicked sideways at us. I caught his gaze for a split second. He looked away so fast it made my stomach knot. "Can I take a picture of it?" Tessa asked, pulling her little kid's phone out of her jacket pocket. "Not right now," I said, nudging her along, but I felt his eyes on us. We moved on, cutting toward the women's section. I told myself I was imagining things. Big store, lots of people. Maybe he just happened to stop in the same place. Still, when we were in the pajama aisle and Aubrey was sifting through racks, I felt it again, that prickling at the back of my neck. I looked up. He was there. Same man. This time he had a big bag of candy cradled in his arms. Still no cart. Still moving in this weird, restless way, like he couldn't decide where to go. He walked past us, slow, then veered off toward the shoes. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Mom," Aubrey said softly, coming up beside me. "That's the same guy." I glanced at her. "You noticed too?" "Yeah, he was by the candy. Now he's here." She crossed her arms. "It's creepy." I didn't want to scare them, but I also wasn't about to ignore her instincts. "Stay close," I said. Tessa tugged at a pajama set. "Can I get this one?" "Maybe." "Let's just hold on." Out of the corner of my eye I saw him again, moving through the boys' clothing racks, not shopping, just drifting. And then, stopping. Looking confused, maybe even lost. But not in the way people really look when they're shopping. His eyes flicked from me to Tessa, to Aubrey, then back to me. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. "Okay," I whispered, leaning toward Aubrey. "I think he's following us." "Get Tessa in the cart." Aubrey's eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Just do it." Tessa groaned but climbed into the cart. The man slipped out of the aisle. Relief washed through me for a second until I noticed he hadn't really left. He'd just looped around. From where he was standing in the boys' section, he had a direct line of sight down into our aisle. Our eyes met. He twitched, literally twitched, then pulled out his phone. He started typing something fast, his thumbs flying. My pulse spiked, and that's when I saw the others. Near electronics, another man. Older, wearing a baseball cap. pretending to look at a half-empty shelf of video games. Every so often he'd glance over. Not quick glances, hard ones, the kind you feel even across a room. And to the left, near the baby clothes, a third man. He picked up a onesie, put it back, drifted away, came back again. His eyes kept cutting toward us. It hit me like a punch. This isn't random. "Girls," I said, forcing calm into my voice. "We're checking out." Now Aubrey looked at me, serious for once. "Are we in danger?" I swallowed. "We just need to go." I pushed the cart fast, my hands gripping the handle so hard my knuckles hurt. Every time I turned down an aisle, I checked behind us. The man with the candy was 2 rows over, keeping pace. The guy in the cap shifted, following at a distance. Tessa whispered, "Mom, I'm scared." "I know, baby." "Stay down." I pulled her into a crouch inside the cart. By the time we hit the front of the store, my heart was hammering so loud I thought everyone could hear it. I scanned for an open register. The self-checkout lanes were crowded, too easy to get boxed in. "Excuse me," I said to an employee stocking shelves nearby. My voice came out shaky. "Can you call security up here?" The kid looked startled. What for?" "There are men following us." My voice cracked. "Please." He blinked, then nodded quickly and picked up his radio. That was when I saw him again, the man with the candy, standing at the edge of the self-checkout just watching, his phone still in his hand. The other 2 were further back, pretending to browse. I paid as fast as I could, hands shaking so badly I dropped my card once. The girls stayed glued to my sides. When we walked toward the exit, I glanced back one last time. All 3 men were standing still, not moving, just staring. And when the sliding doors opened and the night air hit my face, I saw it. The man with the candy just outside, standing under the buzzing lamp. His eyes locked on mine. I gripped my daughter's hand so tight they both yelped. We didn't go straight to the car. We cut across the lot fast, toward a group of people walking in. I didn't stop until we were surrounded, until I saw the security guard jogging out toward us. When I finally looked back, the man was gone. That was months ago. I've replayed it 100 times since. What if I hadn't noticed? What if the girls had wandered off for even a minute? I still shop at Walmart, but not that one, and never alone with the girls. Because I can't shake the feeling that night wasn't just coincidence, it was a plan, and we almost fell into it. I never thought a late-night grocery trip could change my entire perspective on the world, but when I was 15, I learned just how fragile the sense of safety really is. Even now, almost a decade later, I still catch myself looking over my shoulder in parking lots or locking my windows twice before bed. I grew up in a rough Appalachian city. Not the kind of rough that makes headlines every day, but the kind of place where everyone knew somebody who'd been locked up, and where the police scanner always had something going on. Drugs, break-ins, fights, just part of the background noise. My dad used to say, "This town will eat you alive if you don't keep your head straight." That night started off simple. My dad, my younger sister Marlene, and I decided to make a quick run to Walmart to grab groceries. It was a Wednesday night in late October, the air crisp, the kind of chill that makes you shove your hands deep into your hoodie pockets. The fluorescent glow of the Walmart sign buzzed above us like a beacon in the dark. Inside, it was the usual late-night scene. A few employees half-heartedly stocking shelves, families with carts piled high, and a handful of the town's oddballs drifting through the aisles. Marlene and I were being our usual annoying selves, cracking jokes and trying to make each other laugh. She nudged me with her elbow. "Yo, check aisle 7. Creeper alert." I followed her eyes and saw him, a man in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. Stringy brown hair parted down the middle, greasy enough to catch the fluorescent lights. Thick glasses slid down his nose, and he wore an oversized tan jacket that hung awkwardly off his thin frame. He looked like he hadn't seen a shower in days. Looks like a straight-up To Catch a Predator episode, Marlene whispered, giggling under her breath. Shut up, I muttered, though I couldn't help smirking. But the thing was, once we noticed him, it felt like he kept showing up. Every aisle we turned into, there he was, pretending to look at cereal, pretending to check canned soup, hovering near the Halloween candy. At first I brushed it off. People wander around stores. Maybe he was just shopping like the rest of us. And besides, I was with Dad. My dad was 6'3", broad-shouldered, and carried himself like the kind of guy you didn't mess with. Still, something about that man stuck in my head long after we left. For the next week I kept waking up in the middle of the night. No sound, no reason, just this crawling feeling, like someone was standing at the foot of my bed watching me. I'd sit up, glance around my dark room, and tell myself it was nothing. Our house was old. It creaked. The wind whistled through the cracks. And besides, I'd grown up with ghost stories. My mom swore the place was haunted. But this didn't feel like a haunting. It felt dirty. It felt wrong. By the second week, I was so tired I couldn't focus in class. My mom scolded me, blaming the caffeine I chugged every day. But deep down I knew it wasn't the soda keeping me up. Something was off. Then came the Saturday that still burns in my memory. My parents decided to take a day trip to a small town a few hours away. Marlene was staying at a friend's house. That meant I was home alone. Normally I didn't mind. I actually liked having the house to myself, blasting music, eating junk, playing video games without anyone bugging me. But that morning, from the moment I woke up, I felt wired. On edge, like the walls themselves were watching me. By mid-afternoon I'd had enough. I texted my friend Kyle. Me. Yo, you wanna hang? I'm losing my mind in this house. Kyle. Bet. Be there in 10. Bring some snacks. When he pulled up, I rushed out the door like the house was on fire. Sliding into his old beat-up Honda, I finally started to relax. We drove aimlessly, music low, just talking. But I noticed Kyle kept glancing in his rearview mirror. You good? I asked. He nodded quickly, but his eyes flicked again. Yeah, it's just... This dude's been on my ass since I picked you up. My stomach dropped. What kind of car? Kyle squinted at the mirror. Blue Chevy. Old. Beat to hell, I twisted in my seat. The car behind us swerved a little too close, then pulled up right beside my window at the stoplight. That's when I saw him. The man from Walmart. His greasy hair. His oversized tan jacket. His jaw clenched so tight his teeth looked like they might snap. And those eyes. Dead. Empty. Locked on me like I was prey. Holy shit, I whispered, my voice cracking. What? Kyle asked, his hands tightening on the wheel. It's him, I said, panic flooding my chest. It's the guy from Walmart. He's been... Before I could finish, the man slammed his horn. The sound blasted through the night, rattling my bones. I flinched so hard I nearly curled into the seat. Fuck this, Kyle muttered. He hit the gas the second the light turned green, swerving through traffic. We're going to the station. The police station was only 5 minutes away, but it felt like forever. My heart pounded, every breath shallow. When we pulled in, the man didn't follow us inside, but he parked across the street. Watching. Inside, we spoke with Officer Danner, who happened to be Kyle's friend's dad. Kyle, quick thinker that he was, had memorized the guy's plate number. Danner jotted it down, face tightening as he typed it into the system. Stay here, he told us. We'll send a car by your place. Just to be safe. My phone buzzed. Mom was calling, panicked after the station had already reached her. I could barely speak, the words catching in my throat. When the officers checked my house, what they found made my blood run cold. The man was in our yard, right outside my bedroom window, digging in the bushes. He had a crowbar, duct tape, zip ties, condoms, a taser, all of it hidden in a backpack tucked under the leaves. They arrested him on the spot. Turns out he was a registered sex offender. He'd been watching me for weeks, waiting, planning. Suddenly, all those nights of waking up with that horrible feeling made sense. The trial that followed was a blur. My parents pressed charges. He went away. But none of that really erased what happened. To this day, I still wake up some nights, heart racing, convinced I'm being watched. And I'll never laugh off a creepy Walmart guy joke again. Because sometimes it's not just a joke. Sometimes it's real. And sometimes trusting your gut is the only thing that'll save you. I never thought working at a Walmart in a small town could mess with my head the way it did. At first, it was just a paycheck, something steady while I tried to get my life together. I had dropped out of community college 2 years earlier, mostly because my grades were trash, but also because my mom got sick and I needed to help with the bills. So when I finally found a spot at Walmart, overnight stocking shelves and sometimes running register, it felt like stability, at least for a while. This store wasn't one of those massive supercenters in the middle of a city. Ours sat on the edge of a fading town in Ohio, right off a 2-lane highway. The kind of place where after 10 p.m., the only things open were gas stations, a Waffle House, and our Walmart. We had a mixed crew, some older folks who treated it as a second job, a couple of high schoolers looking for extra cash, and people like me, stuck in between, just trying to survive. One of the people I got closest to was a guy named Travis. He was 28, a little older than me, kind of scruffy but easy to talk to. He used to crack jokes about how this store would drive a man insane if he didn't keep busy. At the time, I thought he was just being dramatic, but after everything that happened, I realized he wasn't joking at all. The first time I noticed something was wrong with him, it was a Tuesday night shift in late October. I was unloading Halloween decorations from a pallet, plastic skeletons, fake cobwebs, candy, and I saw Travis standing at the end of the aisle, staring down at his hands. "Yo, Trav!" I called out, trying to lighten the mood. "Don't tell me you're allergic to fake spider webs now." He looked up slowly, his eyes tired, like he hadn't slept in days. "I don't know, man," he muttered. "Sometimes I think I ain't right up here." He tapped his temple. I laughed awkwardly. "Join the club. Nobody's right in the head working here overnight." But he didn't laugh back. He just shoved his hands into his hoodie pocket and walked away without another word. Later that night, during our 15-minute break, I pressed him on it. "You good, man? You've been off lately." He hesitated, then said something that stayed stuck in my chest. "I've done some things I can't take back. And now it feels like it's following me. Like it's in here." He looked around the break room like the walls were listening. I didn't know what to say, so I tried the normal reassuring friend thing. "Whatever it is, dude, you'll be all right. We all screw up. Don't let it eat you alive." But the look he gave me was different. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. He opened his mouth like he wanted to explain, then shut it, stood up and said, "Forget it. Just forget I said anything." Then he walked out. 2 days later, Travis was dead. Word spread fast. He'd been driving home from his shift on the highway when a semi hit him. Some people said he drifted lanes. Others said he pulled right out in front of the truck like he wanted it to happen. Nobody knew for sure. But when I heard the news, his words kept replaying in my head. "It's following me." At first, it just felt like grief. Everyone in the store was shaken up. Even the store manager, who normally acted like a robot, gave us all a speech about leaning on each other. But a week later, the weirdness started. It began small. I'd be zoning candy aisles, and I'd hear a kid laugh down the hall. Not unusual. Except this was at 3:30 in the morning when the store was practically empty except for us workers. I'd check, but nobody was there. One time I swore I saw a little shadow dart between displays like a child running. But when I followed, there was nothing. I brushed it off. Stress, fatigue, lack of sleep. That's what I told myself. But one night, standing at register 9, I couldn't brush it off anymore. It was around 2 a.m., quiet, just a couple customers trickling in. A middle-aged guy buying groceries, a young woman picking up baby formula, the usual late-night crowd. Then I noticed a boy, maybe 8 years old, standing at the end of the belt. He wasn't with anyone, just standing there watching me. "Hey, buddy," I said, scanning items. "Where's your mom or dad?" He didn't answer. He just tilted his head, almost curious. When the other customers left, I looked back and froze. His face wasn't normal anymore. Half of it looked crushed, bones sticking through torn skin, one eye swollen shut, the other glaring at me. His body bent wrong, arms twisted like they were broken in 3 places. His clothes were soaked in dark stains. I dropped the can I was holding, my hands shaking. "Jesus Christ," I whispered, backing away. The boy blinked, and in that blink, he was gone. Just like that. I thought I was losing it. I even checked the cameras, but there was no trace of him, nothing. For the next week I saw him again and again. Sometimes in the toy aisle, sometimes at the end of a corridor. Always silent, always staring, and every damn time his body looked mangled, like the aftermath of some brutal accident. One night I finally broke. Sitting in my car after work, I whispered out loud, "What do you want from me?" And I swear to God, from the passenger seat beside me, I heard a whisper, "Not you." I nearly drove off the road getting out of that parking lot. Things escalated fast after that. One of our cashiers, Kayla, said she saw a kid following her down the paper goods aisle. When she turned to scold him, she swore his jaw was hanging loose like it had snapped. She quit the job the next week. A cart pusher named Reggie told me he found a green rubber ball rolling across the parking lot one night. He picked it up and, for reasons he couldn't explain, felt this crushing sadness like he was about to cry. He threw it as far as he could, but when he went back inside, the same ball was sitting by the front doors waiting for him. That's when I started connecting the dots. Travis. His confession. His death. The boy. The ball. So one night, during a slow shift, I went to the toy section. I didn't even know what I was looking for until I saw it. A green rubber ball sitting on the bottom shelf, brand new, untouched. I picked it up. My hand went cold instantly. I swear it was like holding ice. And then I heard it, clear as day, a boy's voice right behind me. "You dropped it." I spun around. Nobody, just empty aisles. I wanted to throw the ball and run, but something in me said I had to understand. So I kept it with me, tucked under my arm, until my shift ended. That night in the parking lot, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, dragging. I turned and saw him, the boy, his head tilted, his crushed face dripping blood, staring straight at me. "Why him?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Why Travis?" For the first time, the boy spoke clearly. His voice was hollow like it echoed inside a tunnel. He let me fall. And in a rush it hit me. Travis must have been babysitting him. Something happened. Maybe an accident, maybe neglect. But the boy blamed him. "Then why are you haunting me?" I asked. He lifted a twisted hand and pointed at the ball. "You carry me now." That's when I realized it. Whoever held the ball carried him. I dropped it right there in the lot and backed away. The ball rolled slowly toward me like it wanted to follow. I bolted into my car and peeled out, leaving it behind. The next morning, I came back to work, heart pounding, dreading what I'd find. And sure enough, there it was, sitting at the entrance doors like it had been waiting all night. I quit Walmart 2 weeks later. I couldn't take it anymore. Sleep was impossible. Paranoia ate at me, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw that boy's ruined face. I don't know what happened to the ball after I left. Maybe it's still there, sitting in the toy aisle. Maybe someone else picked it up, thinking it was just another cheap toy. But sometimes, late at night, when I drive past the store on that dark Ohio highway, I swear I see a kid standing by the glass doors holding a green rubber ball, waiting for someone new to carry him. And I always keep driving. I was 12 years old the first time I ever understood what real fear felt like. Back then, I lived in a small town in Missouri with my parents and my younger brother. We weren't poor, but we weren't doing great either. My dad was a mechanic, worked long hours at a garage, and my mom worked nights at a diner on the edge of town. Saturdays were usually our grocery day, and like a lot of families in the area, we'd end up at the one big Walmart that sat right off the highway. Walmart back then felt different. The bright fluorescent lights, the endless aisles that made you feel like you could get lost in them, the little arcade machines by the front doors that kids always begged to play. For us, it was an adventure. For me, it was freedom, because my parents would sometimes let me and my little brother wander off to look at CDs or books while they shopped. That day started normal. It was early summer, hot outside, the kind of sticky Missouri heat where even sitting in a car for 5 minutes made you miserable. My mom had a shopping list a mile long. My dad wasn't with us because he was stuck at the shop finishing a transmission job, so it was just Mom, me, and my 9-year-old brother Joey. We walked in, Joey and I doing our usual routine, heading toward the electronics while Mom pushed the cart toward the cleaning aisle. I remember feeling grown up, in that way 12-year-olds do, thinking I could handle myself in public just fine. I bent down in the CD aisle to tie my shoe, and that's when Joey started laughing. "What's so funny?" I asked, tugging the lace tight. He leaned closer, lowering his voice like he was about to tell me some secret. "That dude staring at your butt." I whipped my head up, cheeks burning, half embarrassed, half annoyed. "Shut up, Joey." "I'm serious," he whispered, grinning the way little brothers do when they think they've caught you in something. "He's right there, look." I didn't want to make it obvious, so I glanced up quick. And sure enough, at the end of the aisle stood this old man. He had this long gray beard, but what made it stand out was that the middle part of it was braided, like some weird Viking wannabe thing. He wasn't even pretending not to look. His eyes were right on me. I punched Joey lightly on the arm, trying to laugh it off. "You're gross." He probably wasn't even looking, but Joey wouldn't let it go. "Bet he wants to marry you. You're gonna be his wife," he teased, and then darted down the aisle before I could smack him again. I rolled my eyes, trying to shake it off. But when I stood up, the man still hadn't looked away. His eyes slid off me like he'd suddenly remembered to act normal, and he turned toward a rack of CDs. My stomach felt weird, like I'd just gone down the first drop of a roller coaster. I left electronics after that, planning to find Mom. But before I did, I stopped in the beauty aisle. I just started paying attention to that kind of stuff. Shampoos, lip gloss, face wash, so I figured I'd kill a minute there. That's when I noticed him again. Same man, same braided beard. Only this time, he wasn't at the end of the aisle. He was in the same aisle as me. He didn't say anything. Didn't even look at me right away. Just stood there, a few feet down, picking up random bottles of shampoo and turning them over like he couldn't read the labels. But every time I moved a few feet down, he did too. My hands went cold. I ducked into the next aisle, hoping maybe I was imagining it. He followed. I tried again, choosing one I figured no man would willingly walk into, the pads and tampon aisle. I thought, no way he's gonna follow me in here. But he did. He was holding a box of pads upside down, pretending to read the back. A grown man standing there like he belonged. My chest tightened, and I felt the kind of fear that makes you want to run but your legs feel too heavy. I stepped out quick, trying to play it cool, then bolted toward the main aisle until I spotted my mom pushing the cart. Relief nearly knocked me over. I hurried up beside her. "Mom," I hissed. "What?" she asked, tossing paper towels into the cart. "There's this guy. He keeps following me." Her face snapped serious. My mom didn't play around when it came to us kids. She leaned down slightly. "Where?" I tilted my head toward the aisles. He was just in there. Gray beard, braid down the middle. She didn't hesitate. "All right, you stick with me. If you see him again, clear your throat. If he gets close, cough. Got it?" I nodded, my throat tight. We walked down another aisle together. And there he was again. Closer this time. So close he could have reached out. I started clearing my throat, then coughing. My mom's head snapped toward me instantly. She saw him, her eyes narrowing like steel. She yanked me by the arm and pulled me down the aisle straight toward the front. We found a manager, told him what happened. I'll never forget the way he looked at us. Like we were overreacting. Well, ma'am, since he didn't actually touch her, there's not much we can do. My mom's face went red with anger. So you're telling me some grown man can follow around a 12-year-old girl in your store, and you're just gonna shrug your shoulders? The manager stammered something about store policy, but it didn't matter. My mom grabbed me and Joey, and we left without finishing the shopping. That should have been the end of it. Just some creepy memory that faded with time. But it wasn't, because I kept seeing him. Every time we went back to that Walmart, he was there. Not always close, but close enough for me to notice. Sometimes in the parking lot. Sometimes inside near the front. That stupid braided beard made him unforgettable. By the time I turned 16, I thought maybe I'd outgrown the fear. Until one night, I was at my friend Rachel's house. We were sitting in her living room when her dad's buddy stopped by. The second he walked in, my stomach dropped. Same man, same braided beard. Rachel's dad greeted him. "Hey, Butch." Butch. He grinned at me like we were old friends. Even and sweetheart. I froze, my hands going clammy. "Rachel," I whispered the second we were alone. "That guy, he's the one who followed me around Walmart when I was 12. She just shrugged, like it wasn't shocking at all. "Yeah, he's kinda weird. But he's around a lot. Don't worry about it." But I couldn't stop worrying. Weeks later, Rachel tricked me into going with her to meet someone. We pulled up to this little house on the edge of town. A rough-looking woman let us in, gave us Cokes from the fridge. And then, from the back room, he walked out. "Butch, glad you girls came by," he said, his smile stretching too wide. My skin crawled. He sat down across from us and, without hesitation, started saying things no grown man should ever say to two teenage girls. Things about wanting us to take our clothes off, about pictures, about sharing each other. I wanted to throw up. "No," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "We're not doing that." Rachel giggled nervously. But I was furious at him, at her, at myself for even being there. We left not long after, and I swore to never let her drag me anywhere near him again. Years passed. I tried to bury the memory, but rumors spread. And then, Butch had been arrested. They'd found pictures, dozens of them, of kids, younger than me, younger than Rachel. Some of the worst things imaginable. It turned out Rachel's own mother-in-law had been involved too. Helping him. Even letting kids stay overnight around him. Both of them went to jail. She got out after 6 months. He didn't. Butch went away for good. The crime stacked up against him meant he'd never walk free again. And years later, word came that he'd died in prison. When I heard, I felt a weight lift. I didn't even know I was still carrying. Like for the first time since I was 12, I could breathe. One less monster walking this earth. But even now, every time I step into a Walmart, I can still feel those cold eyes on me. I grew up in a small city in the Midwest, the kind of place where you recognize familiar faces in the grocery aisle, but still run into enough strangers that it never feels too small. My family wasn't rich, but we got by. At 17, I had just started working part-time at a diner downtown, saving up for my first car. Most of my evenings were filled with double shifts and homework, and when I did get free time, I usually spent it with friends at the mall or just driving around when someone else had wheels. On the night this all happened, though, I was on my own. I needed a few new pairs of jeans, and the only big store open late enough after work was Greenfield Market, basically our town's version of Walmart. It was the place everyone went for cheap groceries, hunting gear, and school clothes. I remember pulling into the parking lot just after 9 p.m. The sodium streetlights gave everything that sickly orange glow, and I noticed right away how empty it felt. A few scattered cars, but the lot was mostly deserted except for a line of carts rattling in the breeze near the return corral. I parked close to the front doors, under a light, like my mom always told me to. Inside, the air conditioning blasted me with cold air, carrying the faint smell of plastic and fryer grease from the in-store deli. A few families milled around the grocery aisles, and an older couple pushed a cart stacked with toilet paper. Other than that, it was quiet. Perfect for shopping without much hassle. I grabbed a cart, pushed it toward the clothing section, and started flipping through racks. I found 3 pairs of jeans that looked like they might fit. 2 dark wash, 1 light wash. I headed toward the fitting rooms at the back of the department. The attendant, a tired-looking girl probably only a couple years older than me, barely glanced up as she handed me the plastic 3 tag. 3 items, she muttered. Yeah, thanks, I said, stepping inside. The fitting rooms smelled faintly of dust and perfume. The walls were those flimsy partitions with scratches and scuff marks, and the mirror had streaks on it. Still, it did the job. I slipped into the first pair. Not bad. Snug around the waist. I stepped out of the fitting room to walk a bit, trying to see how they moved. I stretched, bent my knees, paced the little stretch of floor outside the stalls. Nobody else was around except for the attendant scrolling on her phone. After a minute, I went back inside, tried the second and third pairs. All of them fit pretty well, so I changed back into my own pants, folded the new ones neatly, and headed out. I didn't notice it then, but looking back, I remember leaving my wallet sitting on top of the little bench inside the fitting room while I was trying the jeans. I'd set it down absent-mindedly after pulling cash out to check if I had enough for all 3 pairs. When I got to self-checkout, I noticed him. Tall, 6'3", maybe 6'4", lanky, with narrow shoulders and long arms. His black hair was cut short but not clean, like he hadn't had it trimmed in a while. His face was pale, stretched thin, and his mouth carried this grin that made my stomach knot. It wasn't a friendly smile, it was sharp, crooked, like he was in on a joke I didn't understand. He stood by the row of vending machines near the self-checkout, holding a single bottle of soda he clearly hadn't paid for yet. His eyes didn't leave me. I told myself to ignore it. People stare sometimes, no big deal. I scanned my jeans, bagged them up, swiped my cash, and shoved the receipt into my bag. My hands moved fast, like I could outrun his gaze if I just didn't linger. When I glanced up one last time, he was still grinning. His lips moved, like he whispered something, but I couldn't hear it over the beeps and chatter of the store. I hurried out. 2 hours later, I was in my room. My jeans were folded neatly on my dresser, and I was scrolling TikTok, earbuds in, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hey, did you see me at the self-checkout at Greenfield Market a couple hours ago? I froze. My chest went tight. Me. Who is this? Unknown number. The guy you saw, the one smiling at you. I sat up straight, heart hammering. Me. How'd you get my number? The reply came fast, almost too fast. Unknown number. Saw it in your wallet when you were trying on jeans. You left it open, couldn't help but notice, just wanted to say hello. I stared at the screen. My throat went dry. Me. All right, hi, I guess. Unknown number. You looked good in those jeans. Real good. Made your ass look hot. Send me a pic of you in your underwear. I jerked the phone back like it burned me. My stomach flipped. Me. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm 17. I'm not sending you anything. There was a pause. Then, unknown. Number. That's fine. I like guys your age. Just one picture. No one has to know. Me. No. You're sick. Leave me alone. The reply came instantly. Unknown number. If you don't, I know where you live. I'll come to your house. I'll strangle you in your sleep. I dropped the phone onto the bed, hands trembling. My chest was heaving, and every hair on my arm stood on end. I couldn't breathe. I grabbed the phone and bolted downstairs, nearly tripping over the last step. Mom! I shouted, voice cracking. She was in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. She turned, saw my face, and froze. What's wrong? Read this. My hands shook as I shoved the phone at her. She scrolled through the texts, her face going from confusion to horror to fury in seconds. Her voice came out low, steady, dangerous. Get your shoes on. We're going to the station right now, but... No buts, let's go. The Greenfield police station was only 10 minutes away, but it felt like hours. My mom's hands clenched the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as we sat down with an officer. I handed over my phone, showing him the messages. He frowned, printed them out, and started typing into a computer. This number's registered, he said finally. We'll track it. He disappeared into the back for what felt like forever. When he came back, his face was grim. You were right to come in. This man is a registered sex offender. He's also wanted on charges of child abduction in another county. He's dangerous. I felt like my stomach dropped through the floor. My mom reached over and squeezed my hand so hard it almost hurt. The officer continued. We're going to issue a warrant tonight. You two should go home, lock your doors. We'll keep you updated. 2 days later, we got the call. They found him. The same man from Greenfield Market. Same creepy grin in his mugshot. He'd been living out of his car, parked behind an abandoned gas station on the edge of town. The police said my report gave them enough to nail him. Between the texts and his history, he was done for. My mom cried when she hung up the phone. I just sat there, numb, staring at my hands. It's been years since that night, but I can still feel the chill that ran through me when I saw that first text. I still think about how easily things could have gone differently if I hadn't told my mom, if I had just ignored it, if he had shown up at our house. Every time I drive past Greenfield Market, I get that tight feeling in my chest. The memory of those fluorescent lights, that crooked grin, the sound of my mom's voice saying, let's go. It taught me one thing. Monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they're standing under bright lights in plain sight, smiling at you like they already own you. I've always believed that no matter where you grow up, there are 3 things that keep you tied to your roots: family, food, and the roads you take to get back home. I grew up in a big Mexican family where family gatherings were loud, messy, and full of love. It didn't matter how far we spread out. Somehow we always found our way back home for the holidays. When I got accepted to college in Texas, I thought distance would make me less homesick. But if anything, it made me crave my family more. Most breaks, my dad or my older brother drove across the border to pick me up. And we'd ride together, laughing at dumb road signs, sharing snacks, and blasting rancheras on the radio. That year was different, though. My 2 best friends from college, Anna and Julissa, wanted to come with me to meet my family. Anna was adventurous, always chasing fun, while Julissa was the kind of girl who stayed calm in every storm. They begged me to let them tag along. My dad offered to come get me like usual, but Anna was stubborn. Come on, Pam, it'll be fun. We'll drive ourselves, no parents hovering. It's a road trip. What's the worst that could happen? I should have listened to the tiny knot of anxiety that formed in my stomach when she said that. But instead, I smiled and agreed. Anna had a decent car. Julissa was a natural co-pilot with her GPS, and I figured nothing could go wrong. But I was wrong. We left late in the afternoon, with a playlist ready and snacks stuffed into the back seat. At first, everything was perfect, the sun setting over the Texas horizon. Jokes flying back and forth, the excitement of the holidays just ahead. But once the sun disappeared and darkness swallowed the road, something about the trip changed. It wasn't like the other times I'd traveled with my dad or brother. Back then, I usually passed out in the back seat, trusting them completely. This time, I couldn't relax. My eyes stayed glued to the empty road ahead, heart thudding against my ribs. The GPS screen glowed faintly, telling us we were on the right track. But every tree, every curve, every mile felt wrong. Julissa noticed me fidgeting. Pam, you good? She asked, keeping her eyes on the GPS. Yeah, I lied. Just can't shake this weird feeling, like we're not where we're supposed to be. Anna snorted. You've been hanging around your spooky cousins too much. They got you paranoid. We're fine. But we weren't. After nearly 3 hours of driving nonstop, we realized we hadn't seen another car in ages. No headlights behind us. No taillights ahead. Just darkness pressing in on all sides. Then came the dead end. The road we'd been following curved sharply, then simply ended. Ahead of us was nothing but trees and dirt. Anna slammed the brakes, cursing under her breath. What the hell? This isn't on the map. Julisa's voice was tight now. The calm starting to slip. The GPS says we're still on Route 85. This doesn't make sense. Anna hit the steering wheel. Great. And we're low on gas. If we don't find a station soon, we're screwed. And that's when, as if the night was toying with us, we saw it just beyond the bend. A glowing sign. A gas station and a Walmart. It looked like an oasis rising out of the desert, its neon lights buzzing faintly in the darkness. Relief hit us so hard we almost screamed with joy. Finally, Anna muttered, pulling into the lot. I was starting to think we'd die out here. The parking lot was almost empty, just a few scattered cars. The gas pumps stood like lonely sentinels. Anna parked by the pump, stretching her arms. First things first, I gotta fill up. Julissa jumped out quickly. And I need a bathroom before I explode. I laughed nervously and grabbed my wallet. I'll grab snacks and drinks so we don't have to stop again. The Walmart doors slid open with that familiar whoosh, the blast of artificial light making me squint. Inside, it looked normal. Too normal. Almost. Bright aisles, perfectly stocked shelves, and just a handful of people shopping quietly. I went straight for my comfort food, my favorite chocolate bar, before heading to the checkout. That's when I saw her. She couldn't have been much older than me. Pretty, with long dark hair pulled into a ponytail and a name tag that read Victoria. But what stood out was her smile, warm, almost too warm for someone working the graveyard shift. Find everything okay? She asked as I set my stuff on the counter. Yeah, thanks. I hesitated, then added, actually, could you help me? We're kinda lost. Our GPS led us here, and I have no idea how to get back to the highway. Her smile softened, but there was something strange in her eyes. You used the GPS to get here? I nodded. Yeah, bad idea? She exhaled slowly. Happens a lot. The systems don't work right out here. Too many dead zones. If you keep following it, you'll just go deeper into nowhere. My skin prickled. So, how do we get back? She reached under the counter, pulling out a small folded map. A paper brochure. Who even used those anymore? She spread it open and circled a route with her pen. This will get you back to the main highway. Just follow this road here, then cut left when you see the old bridge. Don't stop for anything. Don't stop? I asked, confused. Her eyes flickered toward the automatic doors, then back at me. Her smile returned, but it looked forced now. Trust me. Just don't. I wanted to ask more, but Anna honked outside, impatient. So I thanked her, grabbed the map, and hurried out. Julissa was already in the car, and Anna was tapping the steering wheel. Let's go. I don't want to sleep out here. I showed them the map. The cashier gave me this. Said the GPS doesn't work in this area. Smart girl, Julissa said, studying it. Okay, let's follow this. Within 10 minutes, we were back on a real highway, the kind with semi-trucks rushing past and billboards lighting the way. Relief washed over us, though it cost us 3 extra hours to finally reach my family's house. When we pulled into the driveway, exhausted but safe, my brother Luis was waiting. He hugged me tight, then pulled back with a frown. You guys took forever. What happened? I explained everything, the wrong road, the dead end, the Walmart, the friendly cashier named Victoria. The moment I said her name, Luis froze. Wait, Victoria? His voice dropped. What did she look like? What did she look like? I described her. His face went pale. That's impossible, he whispered. My stomach turned. Why? He looked at me like I'd just told him I'd seen a ghost. Because Victoria died 10 years ago, in a fire at that gas station by the Walmart. My heart stopped. Luis continued, his voice grim. There was an explosion. Half the building went up in flames. She was working that night. They never got her out. Julisa's face drained of color. No. We talked to her. She gave us directions. She was real. But deep down, I knew. I knew the way her smile hadn't reached her eyes. The way her warning "don't stop for anything" still echoed in my ears. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. I had spoken to someone who wasn't alive. Weeks later, curiosity gnawed at me. I had to see it for myself. Against my better judgment, I drove back to that town alone. What I found wasn't a bustling Walmart with fluorescent lights. It was a husk, a burned-out shell, twisted metal, blackened bricks, and weeds growing through cracks in the pavement. The gas pumps were melted stumps. The store was nothing but ruins. No customers, no lights, no Victoria. Only silence. I stood there, shaking, clutching the same paper map she'd handed me. And that's when I realized if she hadn't helped us that night, if she hadn't circled that route, maybe we'd still be out there, driving endless dark roads with no way back. Maybe that's what she does, helping lost travelers so they don't end up like her. I don't know why she chose to help us, but I know one thing for certain. Some people don't really leave this world. They linger, tied to the places they died. And if you ever find yourself on an empty road, guided by a GPS that seems determined to get you lost, and you stumble across a Walmart that shouldn't be there, don't be too quick to celebrate. Look closely. Because the girl at the counter might just be Victoria. And she isn't alive. I don't usually write things down like this. But there are nights when something eats away at you so much. The only way to process it is to put it into words. That's what tonight is about. I had just gotten back from mowing the lawn when my wife Holly came out of the kitchen holding a handwritten list. She smacked me lightly on the shoulder with it and said, "Babe, don't forget this. We've got people coming over tonight. You know how you are when you run last minute." I rolled my eyes, took a sip of the cheap beer I'd just cracked open, and muttered, "It's Sunday, Hull. Can't I just sit for 10 minutes? "Nope," she said with that look wives give when the argument's already over. "You'll be faster than me anyway. And take Eli with you. He's been inside all day. He could use the ride." My son Eli, 4 years old, sat cross-legged on the living room carpet, pushing little toy cars across the rug. He looked up at me, eyes wide, hopeful. I couldn't say no. "All right, buddy." I sighed. "You're my co-pilot." He jumped up, grinning, and ran to grab his tiny red sneakers. That kid never complained, never made things harder than they needed to be. In a house full of noise and lists and stress, he was the calm in the storm. I grabbed the keys, gave Holly a mock salute, and said, "Wish me luck in the battlefield." She smirked and shot back, "Just don't forget the salsa. Last time you came back with every flavor of chips except the one we needed." I laughed, shook my head, and walked Eli out to the truck. The Walmart in town was about 10 minutes away, right off the highway near the strip of fast food places and gas stations. I've always joked, it's like the beating heart of our little city. Half the town seemed to end up there sooner or later. No matter the hour. When we pulled in, I noticed right away that the parking lot wasn't its usual calm Sunday self. There was a kind of tension, the kind you can't put your finger on but you feel in your gut. Families walked quickly. A couple of teens were smoking near the cart return, and up ahead near the entrance, a woman stood gripping a row of carts like her life depended on it. She wasn't pushing them, just holding. Her head jerked side to side, sharp and unnatural, like a broken toy that couldn't quite decide which direction to turn. "Daddy." Eli tugged my sleeve. "Why's that lady stuck?" "Don't worry about her, bud," I said quickly. I didn't want to stare too long. Didn't want to draw attention. I steered him toward the other set of carts on the far end. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, the smell of fried chicken and floor cleaner mixing together in that weird Walmart way. Trying to lighten the mood, I raised my voice and announced, "Attention, Walmart shoppers, make way for Sir Eli, king of snacks." Eli burst out laughing, throwing his hands up like he'd just won a parade. A couple employees chuckled. I lived for those little moments with him. We picked a cart, I lifted him inside, and we started our mission. Beer, chips, soda, salsa, cheese, paper, plates, the list went on. I could already feel my wallet aching. That's when I heard it. A voice. Oh my God, don't run me over. It was loud, desperate, echoing from somewhere down the aisle. My heart jumped, and I looked around. Nothing. Just regular shoppers moving along. No one even reacted. Did you hear that? I whispered to Eli. He nodded, eyes big. Yeah. Who said it? I don't know, I muttered. I pushed the cart faster. I wasn't about to linger. We hit the snack aisle next. I was comparing chips when something flickered in my peripheral vision. A shadow darting across the freezer section. I spun around. Empty. Eli leaned forward in the cart. Dad, I saw it too. Somebody ran. My skin prickled. I forced a smile. Maybe just another shopper. Don't worry about it. But inside, I didn't believe that. Something about the air felt wrong. Heavy. Like the building itself was holding its breath. We went toward the toy aisle next, Eli begged, and I couldn't deny him. He lit up at the shelves stacked with action figures, trucks, and board games. Oh no, I groaned dramatically. This is gonna hurt my wallet. I can feel it. He giggled. Just one car, Daddy. Promise. I was about to grab him a Hot Wheels pack when I froze. Down at the end of the aisle, between the shelves of snacks and chips. She stood there, the woman from the parking lot. Still gripping nothing, head twitching side to side. Only now her face was turned toward me, eyes glazed but locked straight into mine. And then she smiled. Not a normal smile. Her teeth were yellow, jagged, gums inflamed, lips cracked. It wasn't joy, it was hunger. Eli whimpered, clutching the edge of the cart. Dad. She's scary. I swallowed hard. Don't look at her. We're moving. I shoved the cart forward, abandoning the toy section. My heart pounded in my ears. I tried to shake it off. Maybe she was high. Maybe she was sick. Maybe both. But then, as I turned into the meat section at the back of the store, she was there again. Not walking toward me. Not even shopping. Dancing. Her limbs flailed like a marionette, jerky and unnatural, as if someone else pulled her strings. She spun in circles, arms twitching, legs stomping, and then she stopped, dead still, staring at me. She picked up a box of tampons from a shelf, clutched it to her chest, and ran straight at me. I froze. Eli screamed. The woman leaned so close to my face I could smell her breath, sour, rotten, chemical. And in a voice that made my stomach twist, she whispered, "Do you have whipped cream?" My brain scrambled. I think it's not here. Maybe the dairy section. She jerked back, muttering nonsense. Her arms flapped as she swatted at invisible bugs. Her skin was marked with scratches, scabs, dark bruises. Her eyes darted around like she was listening to voices only she could hear. Then, as quickly as she'd come, she stumbled toward the front of the store, mumbling, "Get out, get out, get out." Under her breath, Eli buried his face in my chest. "Daddy, she's crazy." I hugged him tight. It's okay. We're fine. But I didn't believe it. I called over a security guard near the self-checkouts, explaining what happened. Within minutes, 2 more guards showed up and carefully approached her near the entrance. They spoke calmly, but she screamed, kicked, and clawed. One pulled something from his belt, an injector pen. With practiced precision, he pressed it to her arm. She thrashed, then slowed, then went eerily still. The guards laid her on the floor, radioing for police. An officer came over to me. "Sir, you the one who reported her?" "Yeah," I said, still holding Eli tight. "Name's Jordan," the officer said. "We've had run-ins with her before. Name's Laya. She's been using hard stuff for years. Dangerous mix. Tonight she must have gone over the edge." I shook my head, stunned. She asked me about whipped cream. Then he held up a hand. "Don't overthink it. When they're that far gone, nothing makes sense." He handed me a card. You might get a call to give a statement, but for now, take your boy home. I nodded, legs trembling, and pushed the cart toward the exit. Back in the truck, Eli was quiet for once, staring out the window. "Daddy," he whispered, "is she gonna come to our house?" I swallowed, my throat dry. "No, buddy, she won't." But deep down, I wasn't sure. All night during the party, I couldn't shake her image. That twitching head, that broken smile, the way she moved like her body didn't belong to her. And the question, "Do you have whipped cream?" I still don't know why she asked me that. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it meant everything. What I do know is this. Since that day, every time I walk into that Walmart, I feel it again. That heavy air, that same wrongness. And I can't stop wondering what happened to her after that night. Did she survive? Did she get help? Or is she still out there somewhere, twitching in the shadows of another store? Asking some other poor soul a question that doesn't make sense until it's too late. I may never know, but I'll never forget. I always thought working security at Walmart was just another paycheck. Nothing glamorous, nothing that would ever make a good story. You stand in a booth, you watch the cameras, you walk the floor a couple times an hour, and most of the time you're dealing with people slipping socks into their jackets or kids trying to walk out with candy bars. But I learned the hard way that sometimes, in the most ordinary places, something can happen that changes the way you look at life, forever. My name is Derek Lawson. Back when this happened, I was 32 years old, pushing 330 pounds, 6'1", and carrying myself the way big men often do. You act unbothered, because people are always watching you to see if you flinch. I grew up in Ohio, not far from Cleveland, in one of those neighborhoods where kids either learned how to fight early or spent their lives getting pushed around. I wasn't a violent guy, never have been, but I learned how to hold my ground. That skill got me through jobs bouncing at bars, unloading trucks, and finally into security work. Working Walmart nights wasn't what I planned for my life, but it kept the lights on. My shift was usually evenings into nights, the busiest stretch, when families piled in after work, when teenagers hung around in groups pretending to shop, when tempers ran short because lines stretched too long. That particular night, it was a Friday in late fall, I clocked in around 4. The air outside had that sharp bite, the kind that tells you winter's only a few weeks away. I grabbed my badge, strapped on my radio, and headed to the security booth for my usual routine. "Evenin', Derek," said Carl, one of the older guards, as I passed him. He was in his late 50s, skinny as a broomstick, with a mustache that looked older than me. "Hey, Carl, quiet so far?" I asked. "Quiet for now, but give it an hour. Payday Friday. Folks get wild," he said with a chuckle, sipping his black coffee like it was whiskey. I knew he was right. Friday nights were chaos. By 6, the place would be packed, wall to wall. I did my first walkthrough, just making myself visible. Parents pushing carts stacked with groceries, kids nagging for toys, couples arguing in low voices about money. Normal, predictable. But then I noticed him. Standing in checkout line number 14 was a man who didn't fit the usual Friday night rush crowd. He had this wide-brimmed hat, a thick beard streaked with gray, and hair that stuck out from under the hat in messy tufts. His clothes screamed biker, worn black leather jacket, tight jeans, scuffed boots. He wasn't just shopping. His body language set off alarms in my head. He kept shifting from foot to foot, clenching his jaw, tapping his fingers hard on the handle of the cart. His eyes scanned the line, sharp and angry, like every second he was forced to wait was some kind of insult. I've seen impatient people before, but this guy, he had an edge. Like he was one spark away from lighting up. I slowed my walk, staying within view but not too close. Part of the job was reading people, and every instinct told me, watch him. A couple minutes later, it was his turn at the register. He threw his items, cans, bread, some frozen dinners onto the belt with jerky movements. The cashier, a young girl named Samantha, scanned them like she was walking on glass. I knew Sam. She was sweet, only 19, working here part-time for college. Then it happened. He slid his debit card, and the screen flashed declined. I swear the sound of that little electronic beep changed the whole air around us. What the hell you mean declined? The man snapped. His voice so loud half the nearby lines turned to look. Sam stammered. Sir, maybe try it again? He yanked the card, slammed it back in. Declined. Goddamn machine's broken, he roared, slamming his fist down on the counter so hard the gum rack shook. I started toward them, slow but steady, not rushing him, but making sure he saw I was coming. Sir, it might be a bank issue, Sam began, but he cut her off. I got $300 in that account. Don't tell me I don't. Don't you dare stand there and lie to my face. His eyes were wild now, red at the edges. I raised a hand. Calm. Evenin', sir. I'm Derek, store security. Let's take a breath. Sometimes the card reader acts up. Could be the bank system. There's an ATM by the front doors. Maybe give that a try. His head snapped toward me, eyes burning. Oh, so now you're the expert on my money, huh? I kept my voice low, steady. Not saying that, man. Just saying we'll figure it out. No need to scare folks. He glared at me, chest heaving. For a second I thought he might swing, but then he snatched his card and stormed toward the ATM. I stayed back, keeping him in my sight. At first, he just shoved the card in, punched the keypad with stiff fingers. Then the machine spit out a slip, and he went off like dynamite. You lying piece of junk, he screamed, kicking the base of the ATM. The whole thing rattled. A mother nearby grabbed her little boy and pulled him out of the way. People scattered, giving him space. Sir, I stepped closer. Calm down before you hurt yourself or break the machine. He whirled on me, eyes bloodshot. Calm down? Calm down? This thing's stealing my money. Says I got $10 left when I know I got 300. That's theft. That's robbery. His boot slammed the side again. Bang. Look, I get you're upset, I said firmly, keeping my voice from shaking. But the ATM belongs to the bank. Bust it up, and cops will handle it. Not me. Let's not make this worse, okay? For a second I thought maybe he'd listen. His shoulders dropped just slightly, his breathing ragged. But then he snapped his head up and sneered. You enjoy this, don't you? Big man in a cheap uniform. Think you're tough 'cause you wear a badge. Don't play with me. I locked eyes with him. I'm just doing my job. But I'm telling you plain you need to leave before this goes someplace you don't want it to. He smirked, this ugly, smug curl of the lip, like a schoolyard bully. Then he spat on the floor, turned, and stomped toward the doors. I followed at a distance. My gut screamed it wasn't over. And I was right. At the sliding glass doors, he suddenly stopped. Then with a roar, he slammed his palm against the glass so hard the pane shattered into a spider web of cracks. People screamed. Hey, that's enough, I barked, striding forward. But then he spun around and pulled a gun from the back of his jeans. Everything stopped. The world shrank to the black barrel pointed directly at my face. Back the fuck up, he shouted, voice shaking but wild. One step closer and you're done. I'll put you down right here. I froze. My heart slammed so hard I felt it in my throat. One twitch of his finger, and I'd be a corpse on the Walmart tile. The store went silent except for distant crying. Sam had her hands over her mouth at the register. A father shielded his kids behind a soda display. I raised both hands slow. Okay. No one's moving. You got it. Just take it easy, all right? He grinned then, this twisted grin. Thought so. You ain't so tough now, are ya? Then he bolted. Out the door. Across the lot. Into the dark. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. My body felt like stone. My brain screamed chase him, but my survival screamed louder. He's got a gun. Stay alive. The second he vanished, I grabbed my radio. Code red. Front entrance. Armed male suspect. Fled the building. But before I could even finish, I heard the shrill alarm. One of the cashiers had hit the panic button. Within minutes, sirens lit up the lot. Police swarmed, and I gave the best description I could. The hat, the beard, the jacket, the eyes full of fire. 2 days later they caught him. Turns out, he really had just gotten out of prison. violated parole. And the gun? A replica. A pellet gun. Not even real. But you know what? It didn't matter. The way my knees buckled when I saw that barrel. The way my chest clenched knowing one wrong move could end it all, that was real. That fear was real. The court hit him with charges anyway: threats, destruction of property, parole violation. He went back behind bars. I didn't last long at Walmart after that. I got an offer at a shipping agency. Better pay, less risk. But no matter how many years pass, that night stays with me. The way the store went dead quiet. The way the glass cracked under his palm. The way the world funneled into that one black barrel. And the worst part? Sometimes I still wonder if the gun had been real, if his finger had twitched the wrong way, whether I'd even be here to tell the story. I never thought I'd end up working at a Walmart. I know that sounds like a cliché, but it's true. I always told myself I'd only ever shop there, not punch in a clock for them. Growing up, I'd heard every horror story about working retail. The underpaid shifts, the impossible customers, the kind of managers who think a 10-minute lunch break is a reward instead of a violation of labor laws. But life doesn't ask you where you want to end up. It just drags you where it pleases. My name's Adrian, and this story happened when I was 23. A year earlier, I'd been a college kid, head full of plans, ego bigger than my wallet, thinking I was on my way to a bright future. I was studying computer engineering, had a scholarship, and professors who actually believed in me. Then one day, out of nowhere, it all went to hell. The university accused me of hacking their server system, altering grades for myself and others, and even charging money for it. That wasn't me, but the evidence pointed to my laptop, the same laptop that had been with me at all times. Someone had used it remotely, but the school didn't care. They expelled me, blacklisted me, and no other college wanted to touch me. So I went from bright kid with a future to unemployed guy living in his mom's spare room. Bills pile up fast when you're broke, so eventually, I took the job I swore I never would, working in the electronics section of the biggest Walmart in town. The first few weeks were humbling. Instead of programming, I was explaining to people the difference between HDMI and VGA cables, unlocking glass cases for customers who thought a $29 tablet was made of gold, and listening to parents scream because we were sold out of PlayStations. Still, there were a couple of things that made the shifts bearable. My manager, Rosa, and my coworker, Tyler. Rosa was in her late 30s, sharp-tongued but funny as hell. She'd worked retail since she was a teenager and wasn't afraid to put customers in their place. Tyler, on the other hand, was my age, and we clicked almost instantly. He was sarcastic, obsessed with football, and the kind of guy who could make a 10-hour shift feel like 5. One Friday night as we were stocking shelves, I asked Rosa where Tyler was. He hadn't shown up. She smirked. Bet you he ditched for a date with his girl. That kid would skip his own funeral for her. Oh, I laughed, but Rosa shook her head and got serious. Nah, he called in sick. Said migraine was killing him. I joked. Probably from staying up all night gaming. He'll show up tomorrow with bloodshot eyes and a coffee in hand. We made a small bet: if Rosa was right about the migraine, I'd buy her a box of Ferrero Rocher. If I was right about the late-night gaming, she'd owe me a 6-pack of beer. The next day, Tyler came in, and the second I saw him, my stomach dropped. He didn't look hungover or tired, he looked wrecked. Pale skin, dark circles under his eyes, sweat dampening his hairline. He moved like each step was a punishment. Jesus, man, you okay? I asked. Tyler forced a weak smile. Yeah, just rough night. I raised an eyebrow. Migraine? He hesitated, then said, something like that. Rosa leaned over a cart and whispered to me, looks like I'm getting chocolates. But as the day went on, I started to realize something was really wrong. Tyler wasn't just tired, he was off. He'd zone out in the middle of conversations, stare blankly at nothing, then snap back like he'd forgotten where he was. Customers asked him questions, and sometimes he wouldn't even respond until they repeated themselves 3 times. During lunch, I called his girlfriend, Kara. Hey, it's Adrian. Sorry to bug you, but Tyler seems Weird today. Has he been acting off at home? She sighed. He's been grumpy, yeah. But that's normal for him. I don't think it's anything serious. I wanted to believe her. But the longer the day went on, the worse it got. Tyler's body was at work, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. Then it all exploded. Late that afternoon, Tyler dropped a box of headphones, and when a customer complained, he suddenly snapped, screaming, throwing merchandise, confessing things out loud that made no sense. I cheated on Kara last month, he shouted, red-faced, veins bulging on his neck. I stole my cousin's rent money. I spit in Mr. Kelly's coffee in 5th grade. Everyone in the electronics section froze. Rosa and I exchanged a panicked look. This wasn't just a breakdown, this was like he was being forced to vomit out every secret he'd ever buried. Tyler, man, calm down, I said, putting my hands up. He turned toward me, sweating so badly his shirt clung to him. I lied to my best friend about crashing his car. I told my mom I was clean, but I wasn't. He kept going, shouting things nobody wanted to hear. Customers backed away. Rosa rushed to call security. I managed to grab him by the shoulders and drag him into the break room. He was trembling, muttering confessions like a broken record. That's when Kara walked in. She didn't even hesitate. She stormed toward him, slapped him across the face, and yelled, "I knew you were cheating on me." "Whoa, hey," I shouted, pulling her back. Her eyes were blazing, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You think I'm stupid, Adrian? You think I didn't know?" I stared at her, realization hitting me. "What did you do, Kara?" She froze. That silence said everything. "Kara, what did you give him?" My voice was sharp now, angry. She fumbled in her purse and pulled out a small plastic container with no label. Inside were white pills. "Don't tell me," I muttered, recognizing them instantly from a criminal justice class I'd taken before college went to hell. "Those are pentanol. That's a goddamn truth serum." "I had to know," she cried. "He never tells me the truth, Adrian." This was the only way. I was speechless. She had drugged her boyfriend, my best friend, because she was insecure. That wasn't just toxic. That was criminal. Before I could even process it, Tyler collapsed. His body jerked violently, white foam spilling from his mouth as he seized on the floor. "Kara, call 911, I yelled, shoving her phone into her hands. I turned Tyler on his side, praying he wouldn't choke. My heart pounded as Rosa and another worker ran in, both of them panicking. The paramedics arrived just in time. They rushed Tyler to the hospital, telling us later that if they'd been even a minute late, he'd be dead. The overdose nearly killed him. I thought for sure he'd press charges against Kara. But no, he refused. He broke up with her. But he wouldn't let the cops pursue her. When I visited him in the hospital, he said something I'll never forget. "You think you know people, Adrian. But you don't. Not really. And sometimes, the scariest thing isn't what they hide, it's what they're willing to do when they feel betrayed." He never went back to Walmart after that. Neither did I. At least not for long. Rosa quit too. We all left that place behind. But the memory of that night, the chaos in the aisles, the screaming confessions, Kara's tear-streaked face still sticks with me. I realize something important. Walmart's not a jungle because of the customers fighting over flat screens. It's a jungle because you never know what's lurking in the people right next to you. And sometimes, the scariest aisle isn't the one full of customers, it's the one where the truth comes spilling out, whether you're ready for it or not.